Hello everyone and welcome, dear lovers of philosophy. Today I want to talk about the famous French philosopher, mathematician, and physicist, René Descartes. Descartes discovered the law of refraction of light in physics, and he also founded analytic geometry. He is widely known as the father of modern philosophy. He lived in the 17th century during the Renaissance. At the age of 53, Descartes traveled to Stockholm to teach philosophy to the Queen of Sweden, and it was there that he died from pneumonia. Now, Descartes' philosophical system is large, detailed, and quite complex. That's why in this video, I don't want to cover everything. Instead, I'll focus on just one idea, Cartesian doubt, because this is really the foundation of his entire philosophy. You see, Descartes was passionately searching for truth, but not just any truth. He wanted a truth he could be absolutely certain of. Of course, all philosophers are looking for truth. But Descartes approached this question in a very radical and demanding way. He was deeply worried about the possibility of being mistaken. Because of that, he decided to challenge everything he believed, everything he thought he knew. From Descartes' perspective, the correct philosophical method for searching truth is exactly this: to question your beliefs, to doubt them, and then to examine them again carefully. He uses a famous metaphor. He says the human mind is like a basket of apples. Some of these apples are healthy and fresh, and some of them are rotten. And the only way to clean the basket is not to pick a few apples at random, but to take all of them out, examine them one by one, throw away the rotten ones, and then put only the good apples back in. In the same way, it's very likely that in our minds there are beliefs we've accepted without any real logical reason. Beliefs we've never seriously examined to see whether they're actually true or not. So Descartes decides to put all his knowledge on hold. He suspends his beliefs and starts from zero, trying to build a solid and reliable foundation for truth. This method is what we call Cartesian doubt. Now, this might sound extreme, even exaggerated, and Descartes himself didn't believe that all his beliefs were false. He actually said that until we manage to build a new and solid foundation for knowledge, we still have to live our everyday lives using the old system already in our minds. We can't suddenly empty our minds of everything and completely cut ourselves off from the world. He called this a kind of temporary or in-between state of awareness. So Descartes begins by doubting everything, not just his beliefs and his opinions, but also everything he sees, hears, and feels. He even doubts his own existence. He says, "If I can't fully trust my senses, then how do I know that even I myself am not an illusion?" By self, he mainly means the physical body, because we know our body through the senses. We see ourselves, we hear our own voice, we touch our own body. But these are exactly the same senses that sometimes deceive us. And if the senses can mislead us, then we can't be completely sure about the existence of the body either. For this reason, Descartes says, "I'm not even certain that I exist." Just like any other thing whose existence we know only through the senses, my own existence becomes questionable. At this point, you might think Descartes is exaggerating. You might think he's pushing skepticism too far, maybe even falling into some kind of paranoid thinking. But let's not judge too quickly. Think about dreams. When you're dreaming, you might see people, hear voices, touch objects, and sometimes even feel pain. And yet, when you wake up, you realize that none of it was real. Or take a simple everyday example. Have you ever seen a straw in a glass of water? It looks broken. But when you take it out of the water, you see that it isn't broken at all. Your sense of sight fooled you. This is why Descartes believed we shouldn't place complete and blind trust in our senses. Now, it's important to understand that Descartes wasn't saying that everything we perceive through the senses is false. What he was saying is that there's always a risk of error. And because that risk exists, we need to be careful. In fact, Descartes wanted to reach certainty through doubt. Doubt was never his final goal. It was simply a method, a tool, a way to protect ourselves from error. Contrary to what some people think, Descartes wasn't indifferent to the physical and sensory world at all. Actually, he cared about it. He cared about it more than many philosophers before him. That's exactly why he insisted on proving the existence of the physical world through logic and reason, instead of simply assuming it. So now let's see how doubt itself becomes the foundation of truth for Descartes. He says, I doubt everything, but there's one thing I cannot doubt, and that is the existence of doubt itself. Because if I'm doubting, then doubt exists within me. And what is doubt really? Doubt is a form of thinking. We can doubt material things. For example, in the desert, we might see water from far away, but that water turns out to be a mirage, an illusion. It doesn't exist. But we can't say the same thing about thought. We can't say, this isn't really a thought, it's just an illusion of a thought. Because even an illusion of a thought is still a thought. It's the same thing with dreams. The things you see in a dream might not exist in reality, but the dream itself definitely exists. So Descartes concludes that thinking undeniably exists. And if thinking exists, then there must be someone who is thinking. This is where his famous sentence comes from. I think, therefore I am. If my thinking exists with certainty, then I, the one who is thinking, must also exist with certainty. For Descartes, this becomes the first solid truth, the foundation upon which all other knowledge can be built. Now, even though Descartes was a Christian, he was the first major philosopher after the Middle Ages to say something very radical. That truth does not begin with God. Truth begins with human thought. This idea was in clear conflict with the dominant religious worldview of the time. That's why Descartes was very careful and cautious when talking about religion. He was afraid of suffering the same fate as Galileo, who was put on trial for saying that the earth is not the center of the universe. Interestingly, Descartes even wrote a book supporting and developing the ideas of Galileo and Copernicus. But he never published it, because he was certain it would be censored, and that publishing, it might prevent him from publishing the rest of his philosophical work. So to conclude, I think all of us can still learn something important from Cartesian doubt. From time to time, we should clean up our beliefs. We should question them, organize them, and examine them carefully. Many of us carry traditional, cultural, and even superstitious ideas that were planted in our minds during childhood, ideas we've never really questioned. These are the rotten apples in the basket of our minds. If you want to grow and move forward, we need to question our moral, political, and religious beliefs. We either reach certainty about them, or we let them go. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you again very soon.